Well, the day is here. It's finally time to show you guys my favorite Magic the Gathering Commander deck. It's bracket 4, but it's a fun bracket 4. So listen, I play in a bracket 4 pod. It's mostly bracket 4. And we like to play high-powered decks, but casually. We're not trying to turbo win every single game. We understand sometimes we want to do that, right? But every game is not that way. We like to enjoy high power cards, fun things you don't typically get to see in casual pods, but we play them in a casual way. It's fun, whatever. Understand? My bracket 4, my favorite bracket 4, is Kami of the Crescent Moon. This is what he looks like if you want to see him in person, the card that I have for him. He is beauty, he is great. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna break things down into, let's put this on screen, how about that? I'm gonna break things down into their categories, what they are, so I'll just separate lands out from artifacts, from sorceries, from instants, from enchantments, from all the goodies, okay? I'm gonna separate them out, get them in different piles, and we're gonna discuss them, but I'll be right back in a second. Okay, so here we are. I've broken them down into their categories respectfully. The nice thing about this deck is it's very singular in its purpose, right? It wants to do one thing. It wants to make everybody draw cards. Everybody draws cards, no matter what. I don't care how many cards you want. If you've had enough slices, you're gonna have another slice. So some of the lands to talk about, Academy Ruins, Mistrise Village, Reliquary Tower for managing my own amount of cards in hand and making sure I don't have to discard constantly. We have a card draw in land form. And then anytime you're in blue and you're casting instants and sorceries that are important to you, it is always good to have a card like Mystic Sanctuary in your deck. So I think I'm gonna name off all of the cards in a category and put up the pictures as I'm saying them. And then I'll show you, maybe I'll just grab a couple of them. I'll just quickly show you guys the cards themselves that I have. But in case you guys want to see it first, you can skip all the BS. So you can just see the pictures of the creatures and then I'll go into discussion after. So I have Lawan Cephalid Empress, Dakra Mystic, Scrawling Crawler, 20-Toed Toad, Laboratory Maniac, Toothy Imaginary Friend, Jace's Archivist, Consecrated Sphinx, Fairy Mastermind, Painter's Servant, Chasm Skulker, Trophy Mage, Psychosis Crawler, and Min Wily Illusionist. Let me just talk about why. Maybe I have some cards in here. Chasm Skulker, right? Chasm Skulker is a squid horror, but it says basically whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1. Anytime in a draw-based deck where you are making a creature bigger on draw, it's always a good thing, especially for a deck that doesn't have many creatures or many ways to swing lethal with combat damage. This is giving you that, you're basically putting something on the board that people have to pay attention to and distracting them from your ultimate goal. So Chasm Skulker is really cool though, because it doesn't just make itself bigger. It also makes X11 blue tokens with Island Walk, where it was the number of +1. So your one big creature turns into that many small creatures. Very good card. Min Wily Illusionist, a 1/3 creature. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue illusion creature token. This creature gets +1 for each other illusion you control. This is basically farming off of itself, so I don't have too many other illusion tokens. Actually, I don't think there's any other illusion creatures in here. Min is just, I'm working off of the card draw itself, because the second part of Min is the important one. So Min makes a lot of these cheap illusions that are just going to be being created because of how this deck operates, based off of even just having the commander out. So my commander being out already is going to proc this every single time. And then it says, whenever an illusion I control dies, you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to that creature's power from your hand onto the battlefield. And don't forget, each time I draw 2 cards, I make an illusion. So that's going to be a compounding thing. Even if you're just isolating Min's effect, each draw or each turn I have because of Kami is going to proc Min, and then that's going to make another illusion, which is then going to increase the power of the previous illusion each time another illusion comes in. So very cool card, very fun synergy, and it's a card you'll be able to get off a lot. Now this next card is a card that sometimes you get it too early game and you wind up not being able to really utilize it, and it winds up hurting you a little bit. But if you get this card at a good time, it really is effective, and that's Psychosis Crawler. It's a 5 mana artifact creature that says its power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in hand. My hand, specifically. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses life. So it's like Scrawling Crawler in a sense that you're doing ping damage based off of card draw. So if I cast a spell that allows me to draw 10 cards, everybody's taking 10 damage other than me. So it's one of those where then it's as big as the cards you have in hand. So like if you're trying to get let's say one of the other creatures, a 20-toed toad win, which means, let's put 20-toed toad up, which says your maximum hand size is 20. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on 20-toed toad and draw a card. Whenever 20-toed toad attacks, you win the game if there are 20 or more counters on it, or if you have 20 or more cards in hand. Win condition, right? So I'm constantly trying to flood my hand with as many cards as I can. A lot of them are utilitarian, but some of them are meant to just kind of be there situationally. So if I don't need them, they just fill in for 20-toed toad or other win conditions. Trophy Mage is a pretty obvious pick. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an artifact card with converted mana value 3 or cost 3. Reveal it, put it in my hand. This is basically to fetch me Extraplanar Lens. I'm in a deck that's purely on snow-covered lands. So Extraplanar Lens works as whenever I exile a basic land with it, every land of that land type taps for double. But if you have snow-covered lands and everybody else doesn't, it's going to only specify to snow-covered island, snow-covered plain, snow-covered forest, snow-covered swamp, snow-covered mountain. Like it only affects the snow-covered lands. So I can freely use Extraplanar Lens, making all my lands tap for double, all inadvertently, and not allowing everybody else to get the same effect. So benefiting me, but not thee. This has to be a card that stands out there's 2 other cards that I think stand out, but they're a combo. So this one I think stands alone as is such a cool, cheap piece of utility that could work in any deck. It has blue. It's called Dakra Mystic. It's a 1 mana 1/1 Merfolk Wizard that for 1 blue, you can tap this creature. Each player reveals the top card of their library. You may put the revealed cards into their owner graveyard. So you can basically have everybody reveal the top card, and they can force them to put them into the graveyard. Or you could say each player can draw. So if I have this creature, I'll pay the blue, tap it, I can look at everybody's top card, and if they all have shit cards but I have a good card, I can just say, okay, we can all draw. I can let them have their shit cards, I can keep the good one. Or if I see I'm getting a shit draw but everybody else has some good shit, I can tell them all to put it in the graveyard. Pretty good utility to me. And I think it's a pretty cheap card. I'm not gonna lie to you. Just saying. Scrawling Crawler. I don't think I need to say much in any draw engine deck. This card's gonna be good. Just pinging people. Toothy Imaginary Friend has slugged for me. It has really pulled its weight. Every time I've gotten this card out, it pulls its weight, and people see it as a threat and want to deal with it very fast. Toothy is a problem. It becomes a problem very fast, and it's just pure gain. You make it really big, right? And then when it dies, you draw that many cards. So people have to kill it quick, or you just get utility. Consecrated Sphinx. Need I say more in a draw-based deck? Fairy Mastermind. Need I say more in a draw-based deck? Okay, and these are my other 2 favorites. My babies. Painter's Servant, which, look at this card. The Masterwork foil on this card is by far one of the best looking Masterworks I have. I love how this looks. This card is so sick though. When you pair it with Lawan, Cephalid Empress. This is a combo piece to lock, basically, think of Cyclonic Rift, but then as a permanent lockout to keep everybody's stuff in their hands. So then things like Punishers for having cards in hand over a certain amount do damage for that many cards over a certain amount. So this works so cool with forcing people to have an obtuse amount of cards in hand. Planeswalkers, I'll just go over that because there's only one, and it's the Wielder of Mysteries, Jace. Just basically just to draw. And it's another win condition with his, you would draw a card with no cards in your library, you win the game. You know, because I'm drawing so many cards that if I can draw one of these before I inevitably draw myself to death, this is a way to win. Enchantments. So before we get into what I have in my hand, there is one that's not in this deck because it's in a different deck right now, and that's Unstoppable Plan. It's just a good card to have, especially with how many things I have that do tap to give me value of some kind, or just the creatures I have if I had attacked, or just something, you know, having them untap, or like artifacts that tap, having them untap. Very good, very good. Enchantments. Vanishing. It's an enchant creature. Curse of Verbosity. Prof's Eidetic Memory. Standstill. Teferi's Ageless Insight. Ominous Seas. Wizard Class. Back to Basics. Propaganda. And Imprisoned in the Moon. So some of those probably set off like, ding, 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 ding. It's bracket 4, boys, okay? This deck needs ways to stay alive. I know Imprisoned in the Moon, I know, is the one that's going to make you guys angry. Listen, Linda, all right? Shut up. Propaganda. Shut up, Linda. Remember, I'm trying to force people to not be able to cast the things out of their hands. I want people to have an absorbent amount of things in their hands that they can't do anything with. That is the point, because I'm pinging and draining them out based off of that. When we get to the artifacts, you'll see it. I promise. Just stay with me. Back to basics. This one is fucking. This is just, again, remember. Listen, don't get angry. We're feeding into not allowing people to get the things out of their hands. We're flooding their hand. They can't get it out.
They can't get it up. They can't get it out.
Wizard class. That's just value. That's just value. Ominous Seas. This one has actually. You might not believe it, but this deck draws so many cards that Ominous Seas actually is like turbo value, because you wind up going out of control with card draw very fast, and then you can just make 8/8s. You just make them for free, and you could cycle it if you wanted. Teferi's Ageless Insight. If you would draw a card except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, you draw 2 cards instead. So all of those instances of card draw outside of your first draw step, you draw double. Standstill. First of all, look at this art. Look at this foiling. Smash. Prof's Eidetic Memory. I'm sorry, you guys probably. I love this card, and I've known of this card. This card has been in this deck, which this deck was made before VV was a thing, and I think VV became a problem with this. Okay, I'm telling you right now. I knew it before it was fetch. It was fetch. Okay, I knew it before it was mainstream. I love this card. I played it in Arena. Arena is actually where I found this card, but I love this card. And then Vanishing. I love Vanishing so much. Basically, it's an equipable slip out the back, but for 2 mana. So you pay 1 to enchant a creature, right? When you enchant the creature, so typically I would put this on Kami or Consecrated Sphinx or Fairy Mastermind, right? Some of those creatures that are important to the draw engine, which is where I need my focus to be. Anytime, because remember we have extra planar lands, so all of my basic lands tap for 2. I have a lot of ways to tutor up extra planar lands. A lot of my lands tap for 2, so the cost of Vanishing is 1 basic land a lot of the time when you use it. Instance. Brainstorm. But it looks fucking sick. Look at this. Look at this. Ooh. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Fuck you. Wheel and Deal. It's a wheel. It's a big deal. So it's only on opponents, right? That you can make them wheel. But you get a card draw. Me, the caster. But look at this. Oh. Flusterstorm. Chalarian Winds. I love this card art. Look at this. Look at it. It's a discard my hand and then draw that many cards. So if I have 20 cards and I have a thing that says whenever I draw a card, other opponents take damage, I can discard my 20 cards. I can draw that many. Okay, I'm telling you. You guys, it's not clocking. Vision Skeins. Cool card. It just literally says everybody gets to draw 2 cards. Words of Wisdom. I draw 2 cards. Then each other player draws 1 card.
Swan Song. Everybody should know what this one is. 1 mana counterspell. It's counter enchantment, instant, or sorcery, and then they create a 2/2 bird. Strix Serenade, a 1 mana counterspell. Counter target artifact, creature, or planeswalker spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 bird. Bird.
I'm literally giving people their entire library. Here, take it. I'm giving it all to them. So I need ways to deal with giving them good cards, okay? I mean, Mana Drain. Then this one, Force of Negation. Sorry, I'm not sorry, fuck you. This card is sick. You need to see this art, but this card is just very cool. Psychic Spiral. Hello. Hello. Psychic Spiral. I think it was like Awake in the Woods or something. This one card has given me like 20 lands off of somebody else casting it. It's Narset's Reversal. Copy target instant or sorcery spell. Then return it to the owner's hand, and then I may choose a new target for the copy. He casted it. I then said, and then Mystical Tutor. Typically, I'm using Mystical Tutor to get a Fabricate, because this gets you an instant or sorcery. So I Mystical Tutor, and then this is a sorcery, so Fabricate is a sorcery. So I'm using the instant to tutor for a Fabricate to put it on the top of my library. Fabricate is a 3-mana sorcery that says, search my library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. This is another way of getting extra planar lens for me. So it's another way. I never use Mystical Tutor for anything else unless I already have an extra planar lens. Literally, it's the bread and butter of this deck is to Mystical Tutor for a Fabricate to get extra planar lens, because that is just vital to this deck, because this deck is mana heavy. You need a lot of mana for this deck to operate. Windfall. It's a wheel. Prosperity. I love this card art. I love white borders. If you don't like white borders, I don't like you. I'm just kidding. I do like you, but you just need to get better taste. White borders are sick. Solve the equation. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, and then put it in my hand and then shuffle. Paradigm Shift. This is one of the ways to remove my library from the game. Cool art though. I really like this art. And then my favorite from the sorcery category is gotta be Retraced Image. Cheap card, 1 mana, and I think a cheap card overall, but I want you guys to understand, it says reveal a card in your hand and put a card into play that it has the same name as the permanent already into play. So, you know, with this deck, with it being blue, it's not green, right? So green can ramp super easy, play a lot of extra lands per turn, right? Retraced Image, if you have this opening hand, you can play Snow-Covered Island, and I'll tap for a blue to play Retraced Image to play a Snow-Covered Island. You can play it as a land doubler. So anytime you have a blue deck that's using lands, basic lands, this one can allow you to get 2 basic lands of the same name out onto the field, as long as you have 1 on the field, 1 in your hand. You're getting into the artifacts. Now this is where I feel like the deck steps into a league of its own with the artifact choices. Just a really cheap entry into the artifact category, Spellbook. I feel like not a lot of people know it's a 0-cost artifact that gives you unlimited hand size. It's Ebony Owl Netsuke. It's a 2 colorless artifact that says at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 7 or more cards in hand, it does 4 damage to him or her. So I'm flooding your hand with stuff. If you have 7 cards in your hand, you're gonna take 4 damage. Now, my all-time favorite in my first ever Masterwork border card. So this is before Painter's Servant. Painter's Servant is my second favorite of all time. I think, I don't know if I said first, but it's not. It's my second favorite of all time Masterwork border, because my first Masterwork border card was this extra planar lens, which is what made me like Masterworks, but I realized that not all Masterworks are made the same. Some of them are just lower quality. But extra planar lens. One of the biggest and most important cards to this deck is this one right here. Basically, what allows it to all my basic snow lands to tap for double mana. This allows me to use those heavy hitters. Sapphire Medallion, it's a mono blue deck. It's a discounter, a cost discounter. I gotta have that in here. Okay, so here's an old card that had an errata that I had to put in here. Miser's Cage. So what it looks like is at the end of target opponent, but that's each. At the end of each opponent's upkeep, if they have 5 or more cards in hand, it deals 2 damage to him or her. Sleeper card, I've seen some people actually talking about this on Twitter. I need more people to be talking about it in general. Credit Voucher. This card is sick, it looks incredible, and it's just awesome. It's a 2-mana artifact that for 2 mana and tap, you can sacrifice it, shuffle any number of cards from my hand into my library, and then draw that many. If you've been drawing like shit, you're flooded, Credit Voucher. If you've been drawing too many creatures and need lands, Credit Voucher. Bro, this card is so utilitarian, it's so good, and I don't know if it's a cheap card, but I don't think it's that expensive of a card, especially if you don't get a foil one. Otherworld Atlas. It's a 4-mana tap to put a charge counter on it, and then tap to each player draws a card for each charge on it. So So those like the untapper that I had with Unstoppable Plan being one of the ways to just get a little bit extra value out of this. This is a slow burn, but this is one of those cards that you kind of put it out and you start building it up, and then you hopefully build up enough charges to then get a big surge of card draw, and then hopefully you pull into something that you need. Sleeper pick. My friend hates that I love this card. Howling Mine. I love this card, always have. He never understood why I like sharing card draw, and this deck is really all about sharing card draw. So I had this card in other decks because who doesn't like drawing cards, but this deck, or this card, is specifically prevalent in this deck where I want other people to be drawing a lot of cards too. Ivory Tower, 1 mana, artifact sits at the beginning of my upkeep. I gain 1 life for each card in my hand in excess of 4. So if I have more than 4 cards, I gain a life for each card over 4. So just a way to give me some life back. Very slow, but if I have 20 cards in hand, I'm using 20 because of 20 Toad, but if I have 20 cards in hand, that's 16 life I'm gaining at my upkeep. You know, something to think about, Black Vice, great looking card, another Masterwork border. Basically another card to punish somebody, but this one isn't a group punish. This is a singular punish. So it says, as it enters the battlefield, you choose an opponent. So yeah, you would want to be choosing an opponent that you would be expecting to be drawing a lot of cards on their own and on top of what you're going to be making them draw, because at the beginning of that chosen player's upkeep, it deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of cards in his or hand minus 4. So it's similar to the other card, but it's targeted. It's not broad across the board. Library of Lang. This is basically a spell book for 1 mana. It's a 1 mana skip discard phase of your turn, right? So that is where it ties up to spellbook. That's all spellbook does, is just allows you to have unlimited hand size. That's what this is doing. So you're skipping your discards. You have, in essence, unlimited hand size because you never have to discard. But where this one excels past spellbook is it says, if a spell or effect forces you to discard, you may discard to the top of your library rather than your graveyard. If the discard is random, you may look at the card before choosing where to discard it. Very cool. So if you're running a red deck and you do something like a gamble, I'm pretty sure if you have this out, this allows you to choose. Whenever you have to pick something at random, you then can actually just pick. So just food for thought. Here's what it looks like. Library of Lang. Oh, come on. Library of Lang. Old card, sick card. Iron Maiden. Not the band. 3 mana artifact that says, during each of your opponent's upkeeps, Iron Maiden deals 1 damage to that player for each card more than 4 in his or her hand. Again, another thing to punish people for having cards in hand. Vidalcan Shackles. I don't know how this card plays yet. Honestly, I have yet to draw into it in a game because I haven't played too many games with this deck recently. I've been making other decks for other reasons, so this deck has been kind of put on the back burner a little bit. Still my favorite, but I haven't been able to use this card yet, so I don't know how good it is. But I love the flavor of it, and I love this art, and I had to get it. Isochron Scepter. I think a lot of people know about Isochron Scepter through the combo with Orm's Chant, I think is what it is. But allows you to basically, you can put a one-time use counterspell on repeat with this. You still have to pay, right? It doesn't make it free, but you can basically exile a spell, what is it, with 2 mana or less. Thought Vessel, another just utility artifact, 2 mana, unlimited hand size, and it can tap for a colorless. There's Proteus Staff, which is very cool flavor, but I think people are saying it's a pretty salty card. I don't give a fuck. It's 2 colorless and a blue to tap it. Put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library. That creature's controller reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals a creature card. That player puts that card into play and the rest on the bottom of his or her library in any order. So I'm also gambling by using this on somebody, especially if they're a creature heavy deck. But let's say they have one big creature out that's really causing problems. I could do this, but then I can give them a free bigger creature onto the board. So you are playing with a little bit of chance and luck there. I think it's fun. The last card to talk about, the last artifact, is Font of Mythos. Super cool card. People, whenever I played it, had no idea what it was. Also, it looks like this, so they were a little confused. But Font of Mythos is a 4 mana artifact that says at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws 2 additional cards. Just across the board, giving everybody more card draw on top of everything that I'm already giving them. So, are you overwhelmed with cards yet? Because you will be playing against this deck. This is Kami. I don't know if I didn't specify him enough, but let's go over him. He's literally a 2 mana 1/3 that says at the beginning of each player's draw step, they draw an additional card. That's all he does. He's a fat boy that likes giving out pieces of candy. I love this deck, man. I don't know if you could tell, I'm just so happy talking about this deck. It's amazing. It's so fun. It can compete. It has won. But when you play this deck, you understand that you're playing a game of chaos that's fun for everybody in a sense, right? Because you're making everybody draw their entire library. So everybody's getting to see all the cards that they want to play. And it's just my job to try to lock them out or counter the important ones. But ultimately, this is a deck that allows people to get to see and play so many things from their deck. And in turn, it has led to some funny moments to where people almost treat me, they like protect me because I'm giving them so much card draw that they don't send, you know, things my way when maybe they should. You know, the threat assessment isn't there, and then all of a sudden I have a combo win at my disposal, or you know, they have no, like, hardly any cards in their library, and there's so many different ways that this deck can play against other decks, or there's so many other decks that can play well off of this deck that it makes for really fun group games, in my opinion. As long as the groups aren't too big. Like, I think 4 players is the absolute max for a deck like this. But I have to say, at the end of the day, this is not my strongest deck by any means, but it is my favorite. And I hope you guys enjoyed my Fat Boy deck. It's called That's Enough Slices. I'll post a link to it, to the Architect deck list if you want to see everything and copy it for yourself, or just wanted to see some of the other cards in detail, some of the other card art that's available, because I did kind of splurge. A lot of these card arts are not the regular card arts. This is an expensive deck, but I made it expensive, so it does not have to be that pricey. You know, there are much cheaper versions of the cards that you can get. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you like the video. Surprisingly, it makes a massive difference, actually. You don't even have to comment or anything if you don't want to say anything. You can lurk. I like lurking. I actually don't comment very often, but if you could like the video, massive help. I have too many decks. I actually have to make another video right after this talking about a deck box that I really liked that I got from somebody so I can advertise for them too. But okay, whatever. Bye.